kind of arbitrarily split it up into multiple parts. So it's 5 minutes. The Hellion is not out. So again, late factory or late Hellion or whatever. Nick's first scout finally saw a double gas. Like, we've never seen a double gas before in our whole lives. 2 gas. I didn't look at what the energy was like. Let's go back and look. 3 minutes. So yeah, Nick sees 2 gas, low energy. Does that mean DTs? 2 gas, low energy means Blink, or DTs, or Void Rays, or Colossus. Or Expansion. Or anything. Apparently this is the anything build. This is the I have no fucking clue what's going on build. Not very helpful. So now we're going to shoot for that 5-minute Hellion, which is actually going to get here at 5.5 minutes, but because it's a little bit late, it's going to get here at 6.5 minutes, and that's just way too late because there's plenty of stuff that can shoot at it. So here he comes. 4 sentries. Oh, he does get a scout. He sees 3 gate. 3 gate. No. Look at the rest of the base. Find out what his tech. Oh. 3 gate forge, but he didn't see the forge, I don't think. Yeah. Not that it matters. 3 gate forge with this many sentries means Guardian Shield armor, right? Which is usually a Zealot heavy composition, which would lead me to believe Charge Lot. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't think Nick has ever gotten a significant number of Hellions or Blue Flame. I guess there was that one game against the 4 Colossus guy where he got all those Hellions, and then he was like, oh, I've got a bunch of Hellions. This is crap. And the Hellions were just so bad. But finally someone masses late units, right? Oh, he's going for an attack upgrade? That must mean Colossus. Oh, he's going for both. And he's got cannons. What the hell? Who makes cannons? Multiple cannons. This guy is going for a 3-base game. He's going for a super late game. This is a Mr. Macro. Mr. Macro. I am a macro man, and I'm waiting for my 3rd base because my composition is all about an extremely late transition into anything. What the heck? Is he really just gonna mass gateway units on 2 bases forever? It feels to me like this is a ridiculous build. That's probably just because gateway units are terrible. And he's getting shields. Okay, this guy is just bad. I'm like trying to figure out what valid strategy he's doing, and the answer is he's just not doing a valid strategy. I'm sorry. This upgrade is terrible. No one gets it. So he is going for that 3rd base. The whole I'm afraid of drops, so I'm going to spend a whole bunch of money on cannon stuff is a real indicator of somebody who is winning games purely on economy. You know, like a diamond player who got to diamond just by having a bigger economy than everyone he faced. And that's a perfectly awesome way to play, actually. That's one of my favorite ways to play, is just be very safe and make a huge economy and then pump a whole bunch of crappy units and be like, well, yeah, I know they're crappy, but I got a heck of a lot of them. Nick missed an Emp. Okay, so here we go with a 15-minute army. Should be 9,000, and neither of them has anywhere near 9,000. I liked that. That was kind of pretty. That was pretty. So Nick's trying to just get across the field. He doesn't want to fight in the middle of the field. The Protoss is just trying to delay this push as long as he can. Although I don't think he's teching to anything, so what's the point in this delay? You got Blink. He's just mass Blink Stalkers with some upgrades. Kind of crappy upgrades. Maybe he thinks that the shield upgrade is good with Blink Stalkers because you're so often blinking away and recharging. Like, if the shield upgrade increased the rate of regeneration instead of just adding 1 armor to your shields, it would be so much better. But yeah, I think even for Blink Stalker build, it's not very good. Alright, so Nick's finally made it somewhere cool, right outside the choke to his natural. So that's good. We're still working on using our amp and our PDDs to try to get in close enough to kill this natural. But with Blink Stalkers, I don't know, man, I don't know. I feel like mass Blink Stalker is kind of an invalid strategy, man. Like, it's good if you're the best player in the world and you're extremely aggressive with it. But using it like this, I don't know. Once Nick's got his tanks in the sieged up position and nice marines spread all around with PDDs everywhere, your only option is a base trade. And Blink Stalkers do damage so much slower than stim marines that you're going to end up base trading and then having to fight an army that's better than yours. Oh, watch this Protoss player lose units for no reason. And he's so many times he's done this force field stuff that he's almost out of force fields now, even though he's got 8 sentries. Yeah, nice and patient, Nick. Good work. Although you're ditching your siege tanks and PDDs and medevacs. Nick's afraid of a base trade. I would just let him base trade, man. Screw it. You want to bring your army to my base? I'm gonna kill your base. Base trade, fine. Oh, don't throw away a ghost. Oh, the death of the ghost. Yep. So this is a race. They call it a base race for a reason. It's quick. You gotta go in fast and furious and kick some butt. Losing that command center, losing this nexus. I feel like 18 minutes in, the main isn't really a priority anymore. It's not really mining. It's good. Nick's gonna lose here, but it's good that he had workers ready to repair the bunkers over here. Oh, Raven suicide! I got a PDD down at least. It's kind of close. Nick is way ahead on supply. Nick's army is much better. Like this is finally a game where he made a bunch of upgraded marines. You know, like every other game, his army is like 80% siege tank Banshee medevac Raven, and like 20% infantry, and I'm like, why would you do that? And then this game is like, I'm gonna go mass infantry like normal people. And this, like, who does this? Reactor Hellion production. Like, seriously? Seriously? Hellions and TvP? Why did this guy get Blink? He didn't even use Blink. This guy was just terrible. Terrible. Okay, quit. Nick wins, good job. You played against a terrible guy and you beat him. And again, it feels like there was no fight until the 15-minute mark, so the fact that you went 1-1-1 was irrelevant at that point. You know, you ended up with a bunch of Raven, Siege Tank, Banshee Marines with all the Marine upgrades. So who cares if you go Marine upgrades first and then add on the other stuff, or if you go other stuff first and then add on the Marine. It wasn't relevant in that game. In that specific game, it was not relevant. I wonder what he named this. Mass Stalker does maybe it does nothing, or does no damage, does not blink. Macro versus macro. Oh yeah. So the comparison here, my build has always been 2-1-1, and Nick is looking at the 1-1-1 and into 2-1-1. So I go 2-1-1, you know, 2 first and then 1-1. And he's going 1-1-1 into 2-1-1, you know, so we both end up at the same place, and the big difference here is that Nick gets a heck of a lot more gas, and he gets a heck of a lot more of his army spent on gas-heavy things. And he saves probably 250 gas by not getting the Marine upgrades. And in exchange he gets some Banshees and maybe a Raven or some Siege Tanks or whatever. So I mean, they're so similar, the ideas, that their only real big difference is that doing it this way gets you a ton of scouting information, or the potential to gather it, right? Because you have a Hellion really early, and then you have Banshees throughout the whole game that can be poking into your opponent's base and just taking a look at what's in there. But the infantry heavy way of doing it is much more defensively sound. It feels, I mean, it seems to me anyway, like if he's going to hit you off of one base, that's an automatic win if you're going infantry. Whereas with this 1-1-1 stuff, Nick's lost twice and won once. It's a lot less of a guaranteed win. So first poke is supposed to check something at about 2.5 minutes, but Nick didn't do the first scout. It's so funny, Nick wasn't going to make his reactor coordinator anyway. Because again, using a couple of Marines in a bunker at 5 minutes instead of a couple of Marines and Marauder. This pulls $100 away from things that you could potentially spend that on that move, that are, you know, do stuff, like Marines or Marauders or whatever. But you're gonna need that bunker eventually anyway, so I'm okay with it. You always need something by 5 minutes, and you know, bunker is perfectly legitimate choice. So again, he doesn't even know his opponent's location. He thinks it's up here, which it isn't. And he's afraid even to scout to a position where his opponent isn't. Not good. The whole point of this build is the scouting information, and he didn't scout. So then what's the point in this build now? So I assume we're going to go Banshee first. Banshee siege tank. Come on, Banshee. Yeah, Banshee it up, Banshee. You are so banshee-ful to me. Can't you see? Alright, even though Nick didn't see it, I just kind of want to look. If he had scouted at 3 minutes, it would have been 1 gas, low energy, which means fast expand. And then if he had scouted again at 5.5 minutes with that Hellion, would it have gotten in, and what would it have seen? So 5:30 is when we were supposed to show up with the Hellion. 5:30. It wouldn't have made it up the ramp because of these, well, only 1 sentry and 1 stalker. It might have made it up there. It probably would have made it up the ramp with low health, but it would have died. Anyway, so making it up the ramp, it would have seen just 3 gate, 2 gas, nothing. It would have seen nothing. It would have no information. And that could either mean a proxy void ray, proxy DT, proxy, I don't know, something else, or a fast expand. And because he would have known that there was no expansion when he walked up, I don't know, he might not have even known what happened. It wouldn't have given him any information. So I don't know. Again, still just trying to decide whether I like this Hellion opening. The macro, the how you spend your money with this build, it seems like it's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to spend all of your money because you're overproducing on structures, right? You can't possibly keep all 3 of these making units all the time. So that's a lot more forgiving. Like the 2-1-1, you have 0 money in the bank at every second throughout the game with 2-1-1. And if you miss 1, you know, Marine queue, then that's a Marine that's gone forever and you'll never get him back because it's very unforgiving, very efficient. Efficiency. Alright, Banshee, your job is to get scouting information. You have not been even trying to do it. Let's see if now you're going to do it. Come on, baby, get us some scouting information. So we need to know what we're expecting. We need to know... Oh, we need to know that you have 4 stalkers. And he saw a building, a forge. Still doesn't know anything. I don't know. I think Nick probably did see the expansion with that Marine, but again, seeing it with a Marine, you could have seen it with a Marine no matter what build you went. Going for his own expansion in response to an enemy expansion is a perfectly legitimate option, but it's gonna mean that instead of a 10-minute gateway versus infantry battle, where you're opponent couldn't have teched to anything scary, and so you know what you're going to be facing. It's a much bigger can of worms. You could be fighting against anything, so you need that scouting info, and since you didn't get it, you got to try to, I don't know, scan or figure out somehow what you're going to be facing. What is he going to be making? Because if he's going Charge Lot Archon and you're going unupgraded Marine Siege Tank Viking again, like that other game, then you're so screwed. There are certain just flat counters. I hate that. Nick does that so often. Not getting the Watchtower before the push. So he's like, here's my push, Watchtower, here I come. This is a 6th century, heavy sentry play again. Siege tanks are kind of good against heavy sentry play. You're just going to make sure your Marines don't get too far in front of those siege tanks. But you want them to be a little bit far ahead so that you can't lose them or whatever. So here he goes, pushing across the field. It's 12 minutes in. I don't know about this. 4 siege tanks, 2 ravens, 2 banshees. This is not a good composition. This is not what I would want to have. So much siege.
Go, go, go. Additional supply
kind of slow pushing into it. Maybe gonna remember supply depots, maybe not. We don't care. Transitioning into Vikings. We don't need no medevacs, so we have 2 medevacs. Good.
research complete.
Huge, massive Immortal Sentries again. Immortal Sentries is the I wish you would empt me build. Seems like a lot of the people Nick plays go Immortal Sentry. Probably because they see a Hellion and they're like, oh, well that means he's gonna have siege tanks, and guess what's good against siege tanks? Immortal Sentry! Roar! So Nick's kind of slow bunny rabbit pushing or whatever. Leapfrog. Taking his 3rd. Got vision of the high ground. That was good. Nick's done 1,000 damage and hasn't taken a single damage. It's kind of ridiculous. See, if I were this Protoss, I would have had some guys here, some guys here, some guys here, and some guys here. And then just come from all sides and squish into Nick's tanks, because unupgraded Marine Siege Tank, the tanks do more damage to your own Marines than they do to the bad guys. So, yeah. Big heavy Immortal Zealot with some Stalkers would have just crushed this. These Hellions are so bad. I hate you Hellions. So at this point, Nick's done 2,000 damage. He's up 1,500. This is not going well for the Protoss player. Although the Protoss does have his 3rd, they both have their 3rds, and Nick is still ahead on economy, out macroing his opponent while not quite losing all his crap. This is the problem. He keeps walking in, taking siege damage, and then walking away. Like, I bet these siege tanks actually have kills. Like, you'll never see a siege tank get kills in TvP if the Protoss is any good. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna walk in, take some damage, and then once I'm finally at the point where my army's gonna start to do damage, I'm gonna walk away because I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared of you. I'm scared. I just watched a TLO versus some random dude show match that some random dude posted on his some random dude YouTube channel. And he was like, this game was cool, TLO killed a bunch of my dudes with nukes and whatever. But long before he lost anything to those nukes, he lost the game by doing what this Protoss is doing. You see a bunch of army and you're like, okay, I really want to back up and do another warp-in right now. And you back up. Oh, never back up against Terran, man. Free damage, concussive shells, stim. You're going to lose like $600 in exchange for warping in 6 units. You know, like, it's such a bad way to play against Terran. So, we're up to 3,000 versus 1,000, just utterly dominating this very poor player. And he's still on Mass Immortal Gateway. Like, It's been a long time. Get an endgame unit. If you don't get Psystorm or Archons or Colossus, you're just not really a person. I don't know how to say that. Like, you need one of those. Those are your endgame units. By 12 minutes, you should have one of those three things. If at 18 minutes you do not, you lose. So this is kind of the first time I've felt like Nick's composition was at least reasonable. But I feel like it might be not because the composition itself was good, but just because his opponent engaged it improperly. You know? He just kind of let Nick's siege tanks be awesome. I like the Hellion reach around. Nice, and then he groups up his probes. He's like, oh no, a Hellion, group up my probes! And then he sends some units over there, and Nick's like, haha, this is my chance. And he comes in and crushes face. And then the Protoss is winning the battle, and he decides to walk away again. Oh my god. Look. Unless your economy is significantly bigger than Nick's, which it is not, retreating and then warping in another wave, look how much stuff he lost before that wave even finished warping in. This is not how you fight Terran, man. I bet you anything he's going to walk away. He walked away again. He's going to lose 3 Immortals in exchange for worse positioning than he started with. Ah, so painful. Mr. Walk away. Okay, he sucked. Good work, Nick. I liked it. I kind of even preferred that 12, 13 minute push to the more reasonable early pushes, just because you out-macroed him the whole game. You got so much more money than he ever did. Without even slowing down his economy, too. It was just like, you did a good job. You just did a good job, man. You just did a good job. Close game. There's just 4 more, man. How many of these games are you going to send me? I'll punch your face.